In the wake of Donald Trump's recent re-election, Chinese policymakers are bracing for a tumultuous period in U.S. China relations, which they anticipate will be marked by aggressive economic and diplomatic confrontations. The early signs of this turbulent trajectory were evident when Trump imposed a 10% tariff on all Chinese goods, prompting an immediate retaliatory response from Beijing. The situation underscores a broader strategic recalibration by China aimed at minimizing the impacts of Trump's policies while seeking avenues for growth and stability amidst the brewing storm. Yoon Sun, director of the China program at the Stimson Center, emphasizes that the current geopolitical climate compels China to prepare for potential escalations in trade wars, technology disputes, and confrontations over Taiwan. This proactive stance is reflected in China's multifaceted strategy, which not only seeks to counter U.S. pressure but also aims to reinforce its domestic economy and strengthen international partnerships. In response to the tariffs, China has swiftly enacted its own tariffs on selected U.S. goods, coupled with restrictions on exports of critical minerals and an antitrust investigation into Google. However, as Sun points out, China's ability to engage in a tit-for-tat exchange is constrained by the United States' significant economic leverage and trade deficit with China. Hence, Beijing's strategy has evolved into a long-term vision that stretches beyond the current U.S. administration. To bolster its domestic economy, China is implementing a series of stimulus measures aimed at enhancing internal consumption and addressing local government debts, which currently amount to approximately $9 trillion. Key initiatives such as a $1.4 trillion debt reduction program and a shift towards more active fiscal policies signal a departure from previous austerity measures. These moves are largely motivated by the recognition of an impending economic slowdown exacerbated by U.S. tensions, prompting policymakers to accelerate reforms. Moreover, China's outreach extends to its regional neighbors and the global south. In recent months, Beijing has made significant strides in mending relations with countries like India and Japan, both historically fraught due to border disputes and trade tensions. Noteworthy developments include a disengagement agreement with India over border conflicts and diplomatic overtures to Japan, which have included the gradual lifting of seafood import bans and the resumption of diplomatic exchanges. While China is fortifying its regional relationships, it is also exploring new trade avenues. As it looks to diversify its trade partnerships, Beijing is actively pursuing membership in the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP), a move aimed at countering potential losses from U.S. market access. This is particularly crucial as China seeks to safeguard its economic interests amidst rising tariffs and shifting global trade dynamics. In addition to these diplomatic and economic maneuvers, China is adapting its trade practices to circumvent direct confrontations with the United States. By fostering indirect trade relationships through countries in the global south, China aims to maintain robust export levels even as direct trade with the U.S. faces increasing scrutiny and tariffs. This backdoor approach has already yielded significant trade surpluses, with a notable uptick in exports to nations like Vietnam and Brazil. As the U.S. political landscape evolves, lawmakers are also stepping up efforts to address perceived security threats posed by Chinese technology firms. A bipartisan bill has been introduced to ban DeepSeek, a Chinese AI company, from government devices due to concerns over espionage and data security risks. The implications of such legislative actions highlight the intensifying scrutiny of Chinese technology and its potential ramifications on U.S. national security. In conclusion, as the Trump administration reasserts its influence on U.S.-China relations, Beijing appears to be strategically positioning itself to weather the potential fallout. By strengthening its domestic economy, fostering regional ties, and expanding trade partnerships, China aims to mitigate the immediate impacts of U.S. policies while laying the groundwork for a more resilient future. The unfolding geopolitical landscape suggests that while short-term challenges may arise, China's leadership remains committed to its long-term vision of becoming the world's preeminent superpower, anticipating that U.S. policies may inadvertently facilitate this shift. As we move further into 2025, The world will watch closely to see how these dynamics unfold and how both nations navigate this complex and evolving relationship. In a significant move reflecting growing national security concerns, U.S. lawmakers have introduced bipartisan legislation aimed at banning China's DeepSeek artificial intelligence software from all government devices. The bill, spearheaded by Representatives Darren LaHood, Republican, Illinois, and Josh Gottheimer, Democrat, New Jersey, stems from alarming assessments regarding the potential espionage risks associated with DeepSeek's technology. The technology race with the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) is not one the United States can afford to lose, LaHood stated emphatically. The national security threat that DeepSeek, a CCP-affiliated company, poses to the United States is alarming. The legislators' concerns are heightened by reports indicating that DeepSeek's generative AI program could collect sensitive data from U.S. users, storing this information for undisclosed purposes by Chinese authorities. Recent analyses have intensified scrutiny on DeepSeek's chatbot application, which has been found to contain concealed code capable of transmitting user login information to China Mobile, a state-owned telecommunications giant, banned from operating within the U.S. Under no circumstances can we allow a CCP company to obtain sensitive government or personal data, Gottheimer added, underscoring the urgency of the legislation. DeepSeek, founded in 2023, has gained notoriety for its purported ability to deliver superior AI results at a fraction of the cost compared to American tech firms. This rapid ascendance has sparked concern in U.S. markets, leading to a brief dip in tech stocks last week as fears over the competitive threat mounted. While some experts question the veracity of claims regarding DeepSeek's technological prowess, Ivan Sereny, CEO of Ferret Security, cautions against underestimating the implications. It's mind-boggling that we are unknowingly allowing China to survey Americans and we're doing nothing about it, he remarked. The introduction of the bill comes amidst a broader context of geopolitical tensions where the U.S. is increasingly vigilant about foreign technology that could potentially compromise national security. The proposed ban on DeepSeek represents a critical step in safeguarding sensitive information, particularly as the U.S. government grapples with the implications of foreign interference in technology. As this legislative effort unfolds, it is likely to spark further discussions around the need for robust cybersecurity measures and a re-evaluation of technology supply chains. The potential impacts could extend beyond immediate security concerns, influencing the trajectory of U.S.-China relations and the broader technology landscape. Looking ahead as lawmakers push for this ban, the response from the tech industry and international actors will be closely monitored. The unfolding situation underscores the escalating stakes in the global technology race and the pressing need for vigilance in safeguarding national interests. In the wake of the recent U.S. presidential election, China is bracing itself for a turbulent 4 years under the anticipated policies of Donald Trump. Following Trump's re-election in November 2024, Chinese policymakers are concerned about the potential escalation of the ongoing trade and tech wars, as well as heightened tensions surrounding Taiwan. As the U.S. imposes tariffs and restrictions, Beijing is not only preparing for immediate repercussions but is also strategizing for a long-term response that may reshape the dynamics of U.S.-China relations. The Trump administration wasted no time in signaling its intentions. With the recent announcement of a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports, this move prompted a swift counteraction from Beijing, which retaliated with its own tariffs on selected U.S. goods and imposed restrictions on the export of critical minerals. Such actions highlight the limited avenues for China to engage in tit-for-tat exchanges, constrained by the U.S.'s substantial economic leverage and trade deficit with China. Recognizing these limitations, Chinese leaders have shifted their focus from merely reacting to U.S. policies to proactively fortifying their domestic economy and enhancing international partnerships. In line with the Biden administration's strategy of invest, align, and compete, China is emphasizing resilience in its domestic economy and fostering relationships with neighboring countries and those in the global south. This approach is not solely a reaction to Trump's policies, it reflects a broader ambition to secure China's position as a preeminent global power, a vision that has been deeply ingrained in the country's leadership. Chinese officials believe that while Trump may achieve short-term successes, his policies will ultimately undermine U.S. influence, presenting China with opportunities to assert itself more aggressively on the world stage. Underpinning this strategy is a robust domestic reform movement aimed at bolstering economic stability in the face of external pressures. In November 2024, shortly after the U.S. election, China launched a $1.4 trillion initiative to alleviate local government debts over 2 years, addressing a critical issue that has loomed over its economy. By implementing more active fiscal policies and loosening monetary constraints, Beijing is seeking to stimulate growth and enhance consumer confidence. This shift is particularly relevant given the economic slowdown China has faced in recent years, which has intensified the need for structural reforms. Moreover, China is exploring avenues to diversify its trade relationships. With an eye toward rejoining the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP), Beijing recognizes the importance of international trade mechanisms as it seeks to offset the ramifications of worsening U.S.-China relations. The CPTPP represents a significant opportunity for China to expand its trade footprint, particularly amid the growing isolationist tendencies in U.S. trade policy. In addition to economic maneuvers, China is also prioritizing diplomacy to stabilize its regional relationships, particularly with India and Japan. Recent agreements have focused on de-escalating tensions and enhancing cooperation, demonstrating an intent to minimize distractions that could undermine China's strategic objectives in the face of U.S. hostility. Notably, a thaw in relations with India has been marked by a mutual agreement to disengage from a prolonged military standoff in Ladakh, while Japan has seen a restoration of favorable trade terms following a series of diplomatic engagements. China's approach has not been limited to traditional allies. The country is increasingly cultivating ties with nations in the global south, leveraging these relationships to create alternative trade routes that circumvent U.S. tariffs. By investing in infrastructure and supporting manufacturing in partner countries, China is setting the stage for a more resilient supply chain that can withstand the pressures of U.S. economic policies. However, while China's leadership appears confident in its strategy, the realities of its economic landscape present significant challenges. The country is grappling with a heavy debt burden, with local government debts estimated at around $9 trillion and a growing reliance on non-productive investments that have strained its economic model. As the trade surplus surged to a record $992 billion in 2024, accounting for 5.6% of China's GDP, the sustainability of its growth model raises fundamental questions about whether it can effectively transition toward a more balanced economy centered on domestic consumption. Looking ahead, the complexities of U.S.-China relations will likely continue to evolve. Beijing's strategy to weather the storm created by Trump's policies involves not just immediate responses but also a long-term vision that seeks to reshape its role in the global order. As tensions escalate, both nations will need to navigate a precarious landscape where economic power plays a pivotal role in diplomatic relations. The coming years will be critical in determining how effectively China can leverage its strategies to emerge stronger from the challenges posed by a renewed Trump presidency, potentially redefining its position as a global leader amid shifting geopolitical dynamics. In an escalating response to growing concerns over national security, China has condemned the recent bans on its artificial intelligence AI chatbot DeepSeek in South Korea and Australia, characterizing the decisions as an example of overstretching national security concepts. The swift reactions from Beijing reflect the tension between technological innovation and geopolitical considerations, particularly as nations increasingly scrutinize the implications of using foreign AI technologies. On February 6, 2025, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Gui Jiaquan expressed the government's discontent during a press conference in Beijing. He emphasized that China prioritizes data privacy and security, asserting, "We have never asked and will never ask any company or individual to collect or store data against laws." Gui's remarks came in the wake of South Korea's decision to block access to DeepSeek, which was attributed to multiple technical reasons and concerns over potential data leaks. The South Korean Environment Ministry's action, which is part of a broader initiative to restrict Chinese technologies, has been echoed by the Finance Ministry, which also plans to prohibit the AI service on government computers. The situation escalated further when Australia mandated the removal of DeepSeek from all government-issued devices, citing similar national security concerns. This decision followed a government-wide review that found the chatbot's data management practices to be inadequate for safeguarding sensitive information. Despite the performance accolades DeepSeek received upon its release last month, its capabilities have been overshadowed by the scrutiny it faces from various governments wary of potential espionage. Beijing's reaction highlights a broader narrative surrounding the international landscape of AI, where tech innovations are increasingly viewed through the prism of national interests. The Chinese government has consistently opposed the politicization of trade and technology, warning that such measures could undermine legitimate business operations. U.S statement underlined China's commitment to protecting the rights and interests of its companies in light of these bans, which he argues are driven by an unfounded fear of foreign technology. The implications of these bans extend beyond mere corporate interests; they signify a deepening rift in global tech relations. As countries like South Korea and Australia heighten their vigilance against potential security threats from Chinese technologies, the landscape for AI development and deployment is becoming increasingly fragmented. This trend may push nations toward developing indigenous technologies or forging new alliances with trusted partners, thereby reshaping the competitive dynamics in the global AI market. As the Chinese government continues to assert its position on these matters, it remains to be seen how these tensions will evolve. The bans could serve as a catalyst for broader discussions on data security, technology sovereignty, and the future of international collaboration in AI, with the stakes higher than ever. The ongoing debate surrounding DeepSeek and similar technologies will likely influence policy decisions and technological strategies for years to come, marking a significant moment in the intersection of technology and global politics. In the ever-evolving landscape of global diplomacy, recent developments have underscored the nuanced and often complex nature of international relations, particularly between the United States and China. As both nations navigate a labyrinth of economic and political tensions, the intricacies of their interactions are becoming increasingly revealing. At the heart of the matter is the uncertain communication between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. In a week marked by escalating tariffs on Chinese imports, Trump oscillated between announcing imminent talks with Xi and affirming that he was in no rush to engage. This indecision has prompted analysts to deliberate on its implications. According to Pang Zhongying, a senior fellow at the ISAS Yusof Ishak Institute, such fluctuations in Trump's communication style reflect a more profound reluctance from Beijing to engage casually in dialogue. For leaders of other countries, there may not be a problem. But as far as China is concerned, holding a phone call is not that simple, he explained, emphasizing the distinct approaches to diplomacy between the two nations. This cautious stance from Beijing is mirrored in its broader diplomatic strategy, particularly as it continues to appoint assertive figures to key positions. A striking example is the recent appointment of Liu She, a former ambassador to France known for his controversial remarks, as China's special representative for European affairs. This shift signals a hardening of China's diplomatic posture amid ongoing tensions with the European Union regarding trade practices and geopolitical stances, notably its support of Russia in the Ukraine conflict. Liu's previous comments questioning the sovereignty of ex-Soviet states have raised eyebrows, yet his new role suggests a willingness from China to adopt a more aggressive diplomatic approach. Michael Sheridan, a biographer of Xi Jinping, noted that this appointment serves as a clear message to Europe that Beijing is prepared to take a firmer stance in negotiations. Moreover, China's assertive foreign policy is not confined to Europe; it extends to its relations with neighboring Bangladesh, where recent developments indicate a strategic pivot. Following a visit by Bangladesh's interim government advisor Tauhid Hossain to Beijing, China signaled its support for the new government led by Mohammad Yunus. This support comes at a time when relations between Bangladesh and India are strained.
particularly after the ousting of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
The Chinese government has agreed to consider requests for lower interest rates on loans and the construction of medical facilities in Bangladesh, effectively positioning itself as a reliable partner amid Delhi's waning influence in Dhaka. The backdrop of this diplomatic maneuvering includes the U.S. stance on international aid, which has seen a suspension under the Trump administration.
This has left Bangladesh in a precarious position, making China's overtures increasingly appealing.
By agreeing to improve Bangladeshi access to medical treatment, China has swiftly stepped in to fill the space left open by India, remarked a former Bangladeshi diplomat, highlighting the strategic advantage China stands to gain in the region.
In another arena of international relations, the Panama Canal has emerged as a flashpoint for U.S. China tensions. China has reiterated its respect for Panama's sovereignty over the canal following a contentious claim made by the U.S. regarding free passage for American vessels. The Panamanian government has firmly rejected the U.S. State Department's assertion, leading to a diplomatic row that underscores the complexities of influence in the region. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Gui Jiaquan emphasized that China respects Panama's management of the canal and opposes any unilateral claims made by the U.S., showcasing China's commitment to non-interference in the internal affairs of sovereign nations. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift, the implications of these diplomatic engagements will likely reverberate across the globe. With China adopting a more assertive foreign policy and the U.S. grappling with its own internal and external challenges, the coming months will be critical in shaping the future of international relations. Observers will be keenly watching how these dynamics unfold, especially as nations reassess their alliances and strategies in an increasingly multipolar world. The choices made today will lay the groundwork for the balance of power in the years to come.